There are mornings when the world feels unchanged, but you've changed. You get up, you brush your teeth, you drink your coffee, but everything feels displaced, not broken, not wrong, just no longer yours. And the strangest part is, you can't explain it. Not to your friends, not even to yourself, because the external pieces still fit, but something inside refuses to click into place. This isn't confusion. This isn't fatigue. This is the quiet phase of soul departure. You're not leaving your life. You're leaving the frequency that built it. There was a time you said yes to everything. You aligned to identities, patterns, and roles because they made sense, or at least made you belong. But now your nervous system doesn't respond. Your body hesitates. Your energy pulls back before your words even form. You're still here, but not really. You're watching your life like a scene you once memorized, but can no longer feel. Something has shifted. Not in the world, but in your field. And while everything outside expects you to keep performing, something deeper in you is asking, what if I don't? You didn't pack a bag. You didn't burn bridges. You didn't scream or collapse or declare some grand transformation. But something in you has already left. You're still showing up to the same conversations, smiling in the same photos, replying to the same messages, but none of it lands the same. Your laughter echoes in your own ears. Your sentences feel rehearsed. Even your dreams seem like reruns of someone else's desires. And yet, no one notices, because you've become very good at staying visible, even while you're disappearing. This isn't withdrawal out of fear. This is your frequency saying, this version of me is no longer accurate. Not because it was wrong, not because it was fake, but because it was temporary. A structure built by a self who needed to survive, to impress, to belong, to feel safe inside systems that were never built for truth. And now your system is choosing truth anyway. Not loudly, not perfectly, but undeniably. You cancel plans. You pause before replying. You stop pretending to care about things you once chased so hard. And it's not burnout. It's not apathy. It's release. You're not abandoning your life. You're shedding its expired frequency. Not all at once. Not with fanfare, but with quiet precision. And the world doesn't know how to hold that. So it calls you lazy, distracted, confused. But none of those labels fit, because what's actually happening is that your nervous system is detoxing from distortion. You're unplugging, not from life, but from the noise that told you what life should be. And in that space, there's stillness, there's emptiness, there's a strange kind of floating between frequencies. And it's not failure, it's the pause before the pattern fully breaks. There's no handbook for this part, no checklist, no guru, no guaranteed outcome, because what you're walking through now has no path. You're not in between jobs, not recovering from a breakup, not reacting to some clear crisis. But still, something fundamental is dissolving. You wake up and the air feels heavier. Not with sadness, but with silence. Like the echo of a system you didn't realize you were keeping alive just by playing along. It's not that you don't care. It's that you can't pretend to care anymore. Every forced yes feels like betrayal. Every false smile takes energy you no longer have. And every step in the wrong direction feels like walking with stones in your chest. Because the map you used to follow, the identity, the role, the rhythm, it no longer leads to anywhere real. You've outgrown your own story. And while that sounds like liberation, in practice, it feels like standing barefoot on the edge of a cliff with no idea whether the wind will carry you or let you fall. And still, something in you stays. Something in you watches. Something in you waits. Because deep down you know, this isn't a breakdown. It's a departure. Not from life, but from illusion. From timelines that only ever led to performance. From choices made by a version of you shaped by fear, approval, and survival. You're not lazy. You're not lost. You're in between definitions. And that space is sacred. It's where you remember what matters when nothing is pushing you to perform. It's where truth isn't spoken. It's felt. Where clarity doesn't shout. It emerges. And even though no one sees it, your soul is rebuilding itself here. Not with effort, not with striving, but with the quiet refusal to betray your frequency ever again. This is not the end of the road. It's the moment the road stops pretending it ever had control over your direction. You are no longer walking forward. You are falling inward. And that fall, that collapse of old meaning, it's the exact place where your signal returns. Let's be honest, this phase feels like nothing. You're not sad enough to call it grief, not stuck enough to call it a crisis, not numb enough to call it depression, but certainly not aligned. You're suspended in a strange in between. Like your soul has hit pause on every external narrative so it can whisper something you're finally quietly enough to hear. And what's it whispering? That the pace you used to move at wasn't yours, that the desires you once chased weren't real, that the self you kept alive in the world wasn't fully you. And now that you're no longer feeding that self with your attention, your output, your constant motion, it's dissolving. Of course, you feel hollow, because everything you once called identity is fading. But here's the truth most people miss. That hollow space you're terrified of, it's not a void, it's a womb. It's where the old story stops echoing, so something deeper, something true can finally take root. But only if you don't rush to fill it. Because if you try to stuff this space with new goals, new habits, new performance strategies, you're not healing. You're rebranding the mask. You're repainting the prison walls. You're giving the old self a new outfit and calling it transformation. But real transformation isn't loud. It's not a list. It's not a hustle. It's the slow, awkward, holy process of unhooking your nervous system from what never resonated, from schedules that kept you exhausted, from personas that kept you accepted, from roles that made you useful but never whole. So when you feel like you can't go back but you don't know how to go forward, don't force it. That's the moment you're learning to live without programming, without the rush, without the old addictions to proving and productivity. You're not failing to be your old self. You're practicing not becoming a new lie. You're letting the signal of your real self rise, and that signal doesn't scream. It hums. It hums beneath the silence, beneath the collapse, beneath the stories that once defined your worth. And the more you stay still, the louder it becomes. This isn't the end of your energy. It's the return of your authenticity, but only if you don't fill the silence with strategy. Only if you let it echo long enough for something true to respond. By now, you've realized clarity doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt. It doesn't knock on your door and introduce itself with certainty. It arrives quietly, like a sound you almost missed because the world trained you to only hear the loud things. But real guidance isn't loud. It's not wrapped in urgency. It doesn't demand. It invites. And in this moment, that invitation is subtle. To pay attention not to what pulls you with fear or pressure, but to what gently stays. What doesn't spike your nervous system. What doesn't require performance. What feels like exhale, not effort. There's something or someone you keep thinking about. Not with obsession, but with a soft magnetism. There's a path that doesn't scream, "This is it." But every time you're quiet, it returns to your field. That's not coincidence. It's resonance. And the new world you're meant to enter? It's built on resonance, not logic. You're not meant to force your next move. You're meant to notice what already fits, what your body says yes to without needing to be convinced. Because your body, unlike your programming, has never lied to you. When something is true for your future, your body will lean toward it. Your energy will settle around it. You won't feel ready, but you will feel still. This is the new compass. Not what makes the most sense, but what feels like peace even in the unknown. You'll have to trust it, because the people around you won't always understand. They're still playing the game you've stopped believing in. They'll say you've changed, you've slowed down, you've lost your edge. What they mean is you've stopped responding to dysfunction with urgency. And that's not failure. That's freedom. This part of the journey, it's not about choosing between two lives. It's about no longer performing the one that was killing your spirit, even if you don't know what's next. So let the uncertainty stay. Let the stillness speak. Let the signal rise through the cracks. You're not waiting for a plan. You're tuning into a frequency that only your most honest self can hear. And if you listen long enough, without rushing, without forcing, without folding back into old identities, you'll realize something. You're already in the new field. You're not finding it. You're remembering how to live inside it. Now, everything that no longer vibrates with your truth will fall away. Sometimes gently, sometimes all at once. Let it. Because the signal that's emerging, it's not just for you. It's for everyone who's been waiting for permission to stop pretending. And the moment you embody it, not perform it, not post about it, but live it, you become a beacon. You don't have to light the whole world. Just hold your own flame. The ones meant to see it will. You're not chasing clarity anymore. You're not performing your worth. You're not waiting for external confirmation that it's okay to step out of what never felt real. You've already done the most radical thing a soul can do. You stopped pretending. Now you're breathing in the space that opened up. You're moving slower, not because you're lost, but because you're no longer willing to rush through life built on illusion. And yes, people might not understand. They might question your stillness, your silence, your surrender. Let them. Because you're not here to be understood by the old system. You're here to exit it, so others can feel safe doing the same. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This isn't aesthetic healing. This is the real, raw process of coming home to a self that doesn't need to perform, prove, or pretend anymore. So here's the invitation, not to figure it all out, not to master the unknown, but to live inside it with presence, to feel what is surfacing in your nervous system and not silence it, to recognize what no longer fits and not force it, to rest not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that your energy is precious. And most importantly, to remember, you're not broken, you're not lost, you're not lazy, you're evolving beyond the conditions that trained you to betray your own frequency. That's not collapse, that's coherence. So if this message echoed through your chest, if it whispered truths you couldn't explain but couldn't ignore, then don't just scroll away. Anchor it. Speak it into the field. Drop a comment below and name the shift you're claiming. Not for attention, for alignment. Tell me, what part of you are you finally letting rest? What truth have you stopped abandoning? What signal is quietly guiding you now? Because every time you honor what's real, you help rewrite the frequency grid for others who are just waking up. If this video found you, it's because you're ready to stop rehearsing the old world and start remembering your place in the new one. And if you're ready to walk this path together, subscribe, not just to the channel, but to the signal, to your truth, to the version of you that no longer needs permission to be real. You're not here to perform the shift. You're here to embody it. And now you finally are.